Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today PUBG got a proper team deathmatch mode. It's available via the game's arcade playlist. Unlike PUBG's past attempts at a TDM mode, this new mode is designed specifically for it. Also, if you want to see more FPS game coverage, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, right off the bat, you're probably wondering what's the point of alternative modes in a battle royale game? Some people might argue against them, saying, you know what, give me more battle royale content instead of new modes. But you could view TDM in a battle royale as a good way of learning the game, a warm-up mode before a match, or just another way to enjoy the shooting mechanics in more regular intervals. In PUBG's case, the new TDM mode has plenty of pros and cons. It's set up with maps that seem mostly like chunks of existing maps, but modified to suit the TDM mode. These range from fairly claustrophobic shipping yards like the one on Sanhok, to a wide open plain graveyard from Erangel. The teams are 8v8 and everyone can pick from 8 different loadouts. There's the AKM, the M416, the Mini 14, the SLR, the Kar 98, the M24 Vector, and a DBS kit. Each one has a different set of armor and weapon attachments. Also throughout the match, care packages will drop that contain pretty high level gear and armor. Of course, there are respawns in this mode, and friendly fire is disabled. Matches are played in best of 3s, with the score limit being 50 kills per round. Now, a big benefit of having a respawn mode like this is that in just a handful of matches played, you can get a better sense of how the various weapons handle than in months of playing the normal Battle Royale mode. You spend so much more time in the action and actually shooting at targets in TDM versus the Battle Royale mode. Despite the loadouts being predefined, you can still mix and match attachments with stuff from dead players and loot crates. So you can really get a feel for the game's more popular guns, how they recoil, their TTK, what all the various sight attachments look like, etc. The training range that PUBG added last year was a nice addition, but having actual targets to shoot at and that shoot back actually trains you for a real match. Playing TDM also helped me get comfortable with the game's movement and aiming systems. In Battle Royale, you spend most of your time running around, looting buildings and spying on enemies from a distance. And when you do get into a firefight, it's often just a short flurry of gunfire and somebody ends up dead. You don't really spend a lot of time in combat, so getting used to how your character handles in combat takes a long time. But in TDM, you spend basically the entire match facing off against targets, so you're always moving around, getting in 1v1 fights, and working to get good map control. In general, it'd be pretty fair to say TDM will help boost your mechanical efficiency with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Even if you view it as a throwaway mode that doesn't really belong in the game, there's still a lot of benefits to playing it. Now, of course, there's some bad things about this mode that might even throw you off your Battle Royale game. It's pretty obvious that the map designers don't have a lot of experience with level design outside of the Battle Royale mode. On pretty much every TDM map, there's some insanely powerful spots that let you look directly into the enemy spawn. It seems like not only do they have trouble spotting you, but also returning fire when you're in these positions. This one spot under the plane on the Erangel map is particularly nasty. If you go prone in ADS, you can clearly see directly into the enemy team's main lanes from their spawn and just mow them down. And if by some miracle they do manage to spot you, it seems pretty unlikely that anything but a grenade is going to take you out. A lot of maps also feature verticality or weird terrain that creates super powerful camping spots where you can avoid fire just by being prone or sidestepping. Spots like these are actually quite nice to have when you're the one in them, but they are miserable to fight against. Now, the predefined loadouts give you a good variety of weapons and attachments to play with, but if you prefer a 2x scope or a red dot sight for your sniper rifle, well, you're gonna have to pick it up off of a dead body. Likewise, some kits only come with level 1 armor, so you're at a disadvantage unless you manage to pick up someone else's that's in decent condition. Compounding the armor issue, gunfights can feel wildly different from one target to the next. This isn't so bad if you're going for, say, headshots, but center mass results in very, very different TTK results. On one hand, it does prepare you for this scenario in the Battle Royale mode, but it does feel very weird in TDM. Another thing that adds to this randomness is the TDM mode's health system. Basically, you spawn with a set amount of healing available. As you take damage, your ability to heal diminishes. killing replenishes your heals, and the more you get, the faster you heal. The issue is, if you're struggling to get kills, you're always going to be healing more slowly than the people who are killing you. Most enemies don't go down instantly in PUBG, so if you get hit, chances are you'll have time to duck behind cover or dodge further fire. How quickly you can heal up and re-engage makes a big difference in this mode, especially when multiple enemies are pushing you. On top of that, with everyone healing at different rates, it makes predicting your enemy's health even more difficult. One enemy might be full health, another at half health, and then you have to deal with every level in between. So on top of the variations of different armor, you also have to keep in mind that your opponents are going to be healing at different rates. Now, this isn't a huge deal, but there's certainly a muscle memory you develop in most shooters where you instinctively know how long you need to shoot to get a kill. Because of the health and armor system in PUBG TDM, you'll find yourself both overshooting and undershooting a lot, and really there's no way to perfectly predict how long it's going to take to kill your opponent. Now, another thing that becomes more apparent in TDM is PUBG's somewhat clunky movement system. It's always felt clunky compared to most other games, but experiencing this in combat so frequently does kind of put it in your face more often. Your character is slow to change directions, mantle objects, and raise their gun. In the Battle Royale mode, these things really aren't that big of a hindrance because, like I said, you spend most of your time preparing for gunfights versus actually shooting at people. You often set up and get your aim dialed in before an enemy even realizes you've spotted them, but in TDM, that all goes out the window. One match in and you'll start to realize that clicking the ADS will often get you killed. So unbinding the hipfire makes the game feel more responsive and intuitive, except for one small issue. PUBG doesn't have action queuing. In most games, if you press a button or hold a button, that input gets queued up to happen as soon as possible. So if you hit reload and then hold the ADS button, as soon as you can ADS after your reload, you do. But it doesn't work like that in PUBG. Inputs that can't be executed basically get ignored. Sniping makes this really obvious. If you take a shot and then cycle the bolt, you have to click the ADS button at the right time, or your gun will not ADS. Until you get used to the timing, this can be really frustrating. You'll think the bolt has been cycled and then go to ADS, only for nothing to happen. Now the question is, are these things issues because PUBG wasn't built for the kind of gameplay TDM demands, or are they just fundamental flaws that the devs should fix? I'm sure a lot of people would say this is how the game is supposed to handle, get used to it, but I'd say that the TDM mode is a good way of showing that some things like action queuing really need attention. Vaulting and climbing, for example, are incredibly slow actions. In the TDM mode, they're pretty much a guaranteed death if you engage them. It makes some sense to have slow movement in Battle Royale modes because you don't want players instantly jumping all over the place, but at the same time, maybe the TDM mode is making a good argument for the devs to speed things up a bit or just make them a bit more fluid. It's subjective for sure, but it'd be interesting to see how the devs respond to feedback like this. Most Battle Royale games have tight and responsive controls. PUBG shouldn't give up its identity, but action queuing at the very least could be a big improvement. So overall, I think TDM is a welcome addition to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Developing additional modes can be time-consuming and expensive, which is why most Battle Royale games don't have them. They can also be distracting or split players off of their main modes, which hurts matchmaking in some regions. But PUBG's TDM mode is proof that there's at least a benefit to offering alternative modes. It gives players more reasons to play, helps them refine their skills, and creates a way of evaluating the base mechanics without just making wild adjustments to it and hoping something works out. Now, of course, this wouldn't be a PUBG update without some meaty patch notes. The TDM mode was added alongside the game's 6.2 update. It makes a bunch of changes to the game. Armor vests now mitigate damage received from frag grenades. The reduction depends on the level of the armor and is the same amount as for bullets. The key difference is that armor durability is not affected by grenades. Frags also now deal 20% less damage to prone players. Their item weight has been increased by 50%, and they also take up 27 inventory capacity, up from 18. Basically, nades have been somewhat nerfed. They'll do less damage and you can't carry as many. The other grenades have also seen some tweaks. The fuse time for smoke grenades has dropped from 3 seconds to 1 second. The hit radius of stun grenades has been increased by a meter to 6.5 meters. Molotov fire spreads 50% faster and also spreads a bit further. Parachuting got an Apex-style tweak. You can now select a player to follow when dropping. You can only do it before you leave the drop plane though. Once selected, you can cancel following at any time. There's a ton of other tweaks and changes, like the new weapons on Karakin, a second test of the skill-based rating system, UI updates, and bug fixes, so be sure to check out the patch notes linked below. 2020 has been a pretty solid year of PUBG so far. The new map Karakin breathed some new life into the game by offering the kind of constant action gameplay we've seen on maps like Sanhok without its frustrating visibility and camping issues. The devs also added building destruction to the game for the first time ever, and in general it's been very well received by players. PUBG has been out for nearly 3 years now, and since then it's inspired many other battle royale competitors, but it's always been up at the top, always maintained a huge amount of popularity, and really been one of the few offerings for a highly realistic, one of the largest format battle royales out there. It's nice to see that the devs are constantly looking for ways to improve the game, and it's come a long way since launch. If you haven't played PUBG in a while, or you're looking to get back into it, I highly recommend it. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.